Hello, everyone. John Fjeld with the Racing Experts here with Cindy Yen, NASCAR ratings extraordinaire, NASCAR ratings analysis extraordinaire. Cindy, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you doing today?
Good, good. We had a big weekend in Daytona. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about some of the ratings specifically, of course, because, ratings analysis is extraordinaire. That's a very long title to get out. So I guess we'll just jump into it. Good ratings for the truck, Xfinity, and ARCA races. What have you kind of noticed with the different factors going into that?
I think for ARCA, the addition of Frankie Muniz has helped boost that up, especially. I know that I was watching Sports Center on like Thursday night, and they're talking about how Frankie Muniz was first in ARCA practice. Like they would never report on something like that. So I definitely think that has contributed to the increase in ARCA viewership. I know that trucks and Xfinity, I feel like their viewership has gone up, little by little every year. So it's good to see that kind of increasing, especially with, maybe people moving out from trucks to Xfinity, people who they don't like, moving up to Cup. Now Xfinity is enjoyable. And, it's also the first week of the year, it's Daytona. People are excited to see racing again. So they're going to tune in.
Yeah, for sure. And, we saw a lot of people on Twitter commenting about the Xfinity race, the truck race, some of the stops and starts. It seemed like the truck race got a pretty good rating, even with some of the stops and starts that we saw.
So I believe the number reported from Fox Sports PR was only like the non-ranked portion, or like mostly like, the first half essentially of the race. I don't really look a lot into like the trucks and Xfinity, but those all numbers seem up year over year. So I think being able to grow those series is good for sport.
For sure. And then we get to the Cup Series, and of course the duels. They're also up in ratings. I guess, is it more that excitement, or is there something in particular, the intrigue? What
so single car qualifying and the duels were up year over year. Last year, of course, was the Olympics, so they had to compete with the Olympics, and so it seems like maybe that could have played a part in why ratings seem higher this year. Just casual fans having nothing, the Olympics aren't there, they can't watch it, therefore, we'll watch NASCAR instead. I think another intriguing factor might be, watching Jimmy come back and watching Travis Pastrana. Can they make the field or not? And so those are also factors. It's important to note that I believe those numbers are a bit down compared to like 2020, 2021. I know there were some rain delays there, but overall it's been it was a good upward trend, which is why I was personally expecting, this is up, maybe the 500 will be up. Obviously, we did not see, the numbers that we really wanted, I guess.
Yeah. And you mentioned Travis Pastrana, of course, on the Race Experts YouTube. We have some comments from Travis in the duels and also after the Daytona 500, which, it's interesting because we saw all this promotion for the Clash, we saw all this promotion for the 500, get the ratings back, maybe not quite what we expected. What were some things that you saw?
So I want to say, I think the problems with the ratings for the Clash are different than what caused the ratings for the 500. So for the Clash, we saw that they started instead of 5 p.m., they started at 8 p.m. Eastern. I believe a Fox Sports VP posted that the start of the race was actually like the same viewership level as last year for the Clash, which means that the race probably went really late. There were a whole bunch of cautions at the end of the race. It seems like, and the next day was Monday, they had to go to work. So it seems very likely that as the race went on, there's all these crashes, all these cautions, people started turning off TV. Usually we see as the race goes on, viewership goes up. For the Clash, I believe we saw that viewership went down as the race went on. And so I completely attribute to the late start time and all the cautions. So now what we see for the 500 is different because it's the same start time as last year. I think we all kind of expected to maybe have it, flat or at least go up compared to last year, especially because the Super Bowl was on Fox and they've been advertising the 500 during that. So hopefully you would get those fans to watch the 500. You had Jimmy Johnson competing, you have Travis Pastrana competing, who has like over 3-4 million followers on Instagram. So all those factors plus no rain delays, you would expect viewership to, be at least flat or increase. So I know there was a lot of commercials, and I think that was a huge part of maybe why viewership was not as high as it should have been.
Yeah. And that was another topic of conversation on social media. I know I was sitting in the Daytona Media Center. Of course, we have the feed where it shows no commercials or anything like that. It shows just a straight up racing action. But a lot of people are talking about, hey, we just got 5 laps of racing and we just got another commercial. And then we got 5 more laps. We're back to another commercial. And then, we were talking about this graph that was posted that showed, same amount of commercials in 2001, 2010, and this year, but it for some reason just feels different. What do you kind of see with that graph?
I think it's important to note that how the consumer consumes media today is vastly different from how we consumed it 10 years ago, 20 years ago. Now we have a lot of streaming services. We have Netflix, Hulu, and they all provide ad-free options. And so at least I know my generation, like, we don't like ads. We want, to see as much content as possible. And so that's kind of shifted what we find acceptable. And so maybe 5 laps of green flag followed by a commercial might have been acceptable for us 10 years ago. But now, because we have access to all these streaming services who show us, hey, like, you can watch content without ads. Now we're like, this is not acceptable and we don't enjoy this.
Yeah, that's interesting to think. And, when you look at other motorsports, you have F1 that's gone to the totally commercial free broadcast with Sky Sports. And of course, NASCAR is looking ahead to their upcoming TV deal. Do you think that, like, F1's deal, of course, that's something, totally different from what NASCAR is doing with different broadcast partners and whatnot. But do you think these different factors play into the TV deal coming up?
So I think NASCAR is definitely looking at, like, the ratings. They're seeing it going down. They know that but the number of people using streaming services are going up. There's definitely going to be a streaming component, whether it's, we're going to put more things on Peacock. We're going to go with, like, Amazon. We will definitely see something with streaming. I don't think something like F1 TV will, at least in the near future, ever come to NASCAR because of how, their revenue structures are. NASCAR makes its money from the TV deals. So, Fox, NBC, they're paid like, millions, maybe billions of dollars to try and broadcast NASCAR. And in turn, NBC and Fox rely on selling ads to recoup that money. I believe in F1, most of their money comes from Sky Sports. Sky Sports is a subscription channel. It costs a lot of money. So they're making their money back by basically telling, people in Britain to subscribe to Sky Sports. But because you gave us like $70 a month, you don't have ads. So unless in America, you want to watch NASCAR for $70 a month, or like pay Fox $70 a month, so you don't have to watch with ads, I don't think anything like F1 TV is going to be viable. And so I know ESPN in America shows F1. They're essentially just taking the Sky Sports feed and then, saying like, oh, this is presented by Mothers, and we get some money back. But I think if ESPN itself was broadcasting F1, you would start seeing commercials because they also need to recoup that money.
That's a good point about that, especially because I remember hearing that ESPN was paying little to nothing for the F1 broadcast, but they were earning so much back, just all the success they were seeing, whatnot. So that's interesting to know. So I'll be there. You'll be there. What do you expect for, I guess, the Auto Club ratings and going forward?
I think right now we saw an 8% decrease in ratings for Daytona. Usually, this early in the season, you're still kind of trying to figure out like what ratings will look like. I wouldn't say 8%. That seems like a huge drop, but based on this last race and perhaps even a bit of the Clash, you would see a little drop from last year. But also, it's the last race on the 2-mile oval. It just really, maybe more fans want to tune in to see, what could be a great race.
Yeah, for sure. I know I'll be anticipating. I know you're probably anticipating as well. So they'll be awesome. Cindy, where can people find you on social media and see your analysis and whatnot?
You can follow me on Twitter at Cindy Melian. And yeah, that's pretty much the only social media on my blog. So yeah, feel free to, tweet me. I'm very responsive. DM me if you have questions. And yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Cindy. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks so much.